The system is broken, and you are allowing the mayor to blame the victims.
The time is now. We have people living on our streets under inhumane circumstances.
By a razor-thin margin, the San Diego City Council passes the controversial homeless encampment ban.
This day will go down in infamy.
Former President Trump pleads not guilty to 37 federal charges.
The Vegas Knights make hockey history and win the Stanley Cup.
We do have another day full of cloud coverage, but that sunshine is right around the corner. It's 6 a.m. on Wednesday, June 14th.
New this morning, San Diego City Council voted to pass a citywide ban on encampments. Thanks for joining us, everyone, here at 6 a.m. on this Wednesday. I'm Eric Connert.
And I'm Dana Marie McNichol. Now, the City Council voted 5-4 late last night. Prior to that vote, the council heard hours of public comment with hundreds of people showing up to speak on this unsafe camping ordinance.
Yeah, this map from the group Alliance San Diego here showing where they say encampments are now illegal. You can see that most of the city is covered in black.
CBS 8's Chris Groh, he's live on Harbor Island with what both opposition and supporters were saying, and then also what happens next.
A couple of ways to kind of get an idea of just how controversial this ban was. You could look at the razor-thin margin there that we saw for the vote, 5-4, but then you can also listen to the voices that made sure that their thoughts were heard just yesterday.
Shelters are not housing. Shelters are not the answer.
We have people, homeless people, going into our restaurants, taking food off of customers' plates. We have people, I mean, it's out of control.
And so, of course, for those of you that have not heard yet, this is a ordinance that would prohibit tent encampments in all public spaces throughout the city if shelter beds are available. But there are certain areas where that requirement for shelter beds would not play into effect. Those would be areas like parks, canyons, and near schools, as well as transit stations and homeless shelters. So many wondering how it'll be enforced. Well, based on established police protocol and dealing with the homeless, those in violation will be warned and educated on the ordinance. If they don't comply on that first warning or accept a shelter bed, they could be cited and eventually arrested in a later encounter. There were amendments made to the ban. One establishes a working group to monitor how the ordinance is carried out, and another amends the ordinance so that it won't take effect until 30 days after a safe sleeping lot is opened on 20th and Beach Street. That should be done in July. The other safe sleeping program site would be located in Balboa Park at the parking lot O. The two sites should serve about 500 people. It would also provide bathroom security and other services for those who are homeless. Now, the shelter plan, that's part of a shelter plan that was created in pair with the encampment ban. But speaking about that encampment ban again, that's an ordinance that was first introduced by City Council member Stephen Whitburn. And here is Council member Whitburn speaking about that ordinance passing.
We can work to help people get on their feet, that we can have reasonable regulations on the use and location of encampments.
Now, as for former city leaders like former Mayor Kevin Faulconer, he says that he is in support of an ordinance like this, but simply says it doesn't go far enough because there aren't shelter beds available. You can read more about what he has to say by going to CBS8.com, as well as others who have lent their voices to this issue. Eric and Dana Marie.
Chris, thanks. And homeless advocates fighting back against the unsafe camping ban. They say it will have devastating consequences for people dealing with homelessness. Advocates say the city needs to push for permanent housing that is safe and affordable. One mother we talked to says she's been living in a city shelter with her young son for 6 months and that it's very hard to find a real home.
I have faith and I try every day to figure out something like a nap. I figure out a way no matter what. You know, I have no other option. My baby depends on me.
Other homeless advocates say there just aren't enough shelter beds for everyone. A new city report says 1,200 people seeking shelter last year had to be turned away because of a lack of beds. The San Diego Housing Commission says shelters are 97% full right now, and only 30% of people who are referred can get in. And a new strategic report finds the city must relocate more than 900 shelter beds this year.
This was presented to the City Council prior to the encampment ban vote. The report says new homes must be found for beds because of some shelters closing. The strategy also identified places where at least 600 new beds could be created this summer. It also highlighted potentially 6 new safe parking lots that could be created at local libraries. Right now, City funds nearly 2,000 shelter beds. The report says $27 million was spent on shelters in 2022. And you can stay up to date on the latest of the San Diego homeless encampment ban by heading to CBS8.com or follow CBS 8 on social media. Now on to some other local headlines. Right now, National City Council, they're divided over how much money each council member should get for their district.
Yeah, district budgets are not common, but some leaders are asking for $100,000 for each district. The hope is this money would help with staffing issues. Right now, Mayor Ron Morrison is the only full-time position on the council. He receives an annual budget of $131,000. It covers benefits and an assistant. Other council members share an assistant and have never had a budget. Councilmember Marcus Bush says it's about equity. Mayor Ron Morrison says a new budget does not serve the community.
All we're asking for is what he's getting so that we can work as a team together and really address the city's issues.
This is a city budget. You don't need district budgets. Ripe for abuse, it's just ripe for a waste of money.
Councilmember Bush says approving the budget could help issues like repaving the streets in his district. The city budget will be voted on Tuesday at 6 p.m.
And this morning, we are getting a first look at this video. It was released by the San Diego Police Department. It shows the moments before San Diego police shot and killed a man at the San Ysidro Transit Center. Now, this surveillance video from inside a Blue Line trolley car on the night of June 4th shows 19-year-old Mauricio Sanchez Ramos rocking back and forth. About 10 minutes later, he stands up and pulls out a gun. All the other passengers got out at the next stop, and then you can see Ramos walking around the train car and pointing a gun at a security camera. When police arrived, they opened a door and an officer stepped inside. Ramos can be seen pulling out his gun. That's when the officer opened fire. It was later determined the gun Ramos was holding is a Glock-style BB gun. The shooter is still under investigation and will be reviewed by several agencies, including the DA's office and shooting review boards. Right now, Caltrans is getting ready to open up an HOV lane on the I-5 freeway from Carlsbad to Oceanside. I'm sure a lot of commuters are happy about this one. The southbound section is opening up this morning, with the northbound section opening to drivers in 2 weeks. That means there are now in total 13 miles of new HOV lanes recently completed in the region. Officials say the lanes would hopefully reduce that traffic.